just at home. But the recommendation would be that if you go above that 10, that you should go back to at-home instruction. And there's also another document was given out with this that kind of goes into a little bit deeper dive. What I want to do is also kind of find out, we know that we're above it, but I don't know how far above it. There was also been talk about taking out maybe those tests that were done for just nursing homes, because that's a population that wouldn't necessarily be part of the community spread. So I don't know what number they use to get to that 7%, although they say they're over 7, but we just need to get a little bit more information on how close are we? Are we close or are we not close? And I don't have those answers yet. This is just too new. So did that answer your question? Okay, perfect. So again, we'll be do a little bit deeper dive. As soon as we get that information, we'll share it with staff and the board and the community on what's going on.
Does the powers that be regarding all of this, do they keep in touch with you? Well, are they good at updating you and providing statistics?
The county health department is. I was at a meeting last Thursday that they were present and giving us guidance and information. This came out of the state health department. So they're dealing with the over 200 school districts and things like that. So, but the county is doing a very good job. And that's who we would go to kind of get more of an answer on what exactly the numbers are. There's also a webinar tomorrow that I'll be attending that may answer some of those questions as well.
Good.
And again, this is just super new, literally less than 2 hours old. So this is as much as we know right now. And I wanted to share with you that since we got it, but when we get more information, I'll share that as well.
Thank you.
Anything else? The COVID, let's see, there was a letter that got, I guess, distributed around that I signed the district onto, and what it requests, it's a letter to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue, along with the Nutrition Service Administrator at the USDA, Pam Miller, that's requesting that the waivers that were issued that allowed the seamless summer feeding program beginning in March will continue. That actually ends tomorrow. So starting on Monday with our start of school, we can no longer feed all kids, because right now we feed all kids 0 to 18 years old, no matter whether they're enrolled in our schools or not. We're no longer allowed to do that. So we're only allowed to serve kids that are district students starting Monday. On top of that, in the past, up until tomorrow, kids were able to, and families were able to get the meals for free because it was part of the summer feeding program. Starting on Monday, kids would need to qualify, as they have in the past, for a free lunch. If they qualify for a free lunch, they could continue to get it free. For those that get reduced, they would have to pay the reduced amount. And then those that are full pay would have to get full pay, would have to pay for those meals. So the request is that we actually go back to the summer feeding program. Since, to be honest, we're worse off than we were last spring. And there's families that are worse off than they were last spring. And so the hope is that maybe we can feed those kids like we were last spring, where it was free to them. They could pick up 14 days of meals, not just 8 that we're going to be limited to, things like that.
What do you mean by worse off?
Financially. They may have been out of work for longer than normal. The $600 in increased unemployment payments ended at the end of last month. And so there may be families that are in much worse financial situations now than they were in April, May, and June.
Do you have any idea how much it costs, like say just for a week, to feed those families that we've been feeding all summer?
So I believe the breakfasts are, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I think the breakfasts are between $1.50 and $2 each. Mm-hmm. And the lunches are between $2.50 and $3. Does that sound right? Somewhere in there. And so we've been doing 7 lunches and 7 breakfasts. So figure $14 in breakfasts and let's say $21 in so what is that, $35
per student?
per student per week.
And how many students would that?
Ben said this morning we've served about 180,000 meals this summer,
So that'd be breakfasts and lunches together.
90,000 of each.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the cost to the family, not.
No, that's the cost of the district. That's
Oh,
our
okay.
cost.
Okay.
And then we go ahead and apply through the state for federal money to offset. And we actually get a little bit more than what we pay for each
No,
of
I
those
guess
meals.
what I meant was, if a meal's $1.50, is that the actual cost of that meal?
We charge a little bit more for that
Okay.
in the district, so they would pay a little bit more than that. And actually, I think we're still continuing, are we still continuing with the free breakfasts? So the breakfast wouldn't cost them anything, because we do that normal free breakfast regularly. So they get the free breakfast no matter what, as long as they're a district employee, it's just the lunch that they would normally have to pay for. And it's different at the elementary than it is at the middle school and high school.
You said district employee, do you mean student? Just now you said district employee.
I might have, as far as with respect to, when did I say it? I don't know.
Free breakfast.
Oh, we actually give out free breakfast to all students, and that would continue. Any other questions about food? So just for your information, I'm concerned, I have a high concern about student safety at school. But just to kind of give you an idea about where our staff is, I asked Karen to do an age census of our staff. We have 376 staff members. That includes all our regular employees, our coaches, our subs, and everybody, so 376. Of those 376, 40% or about 40% or 149 of them are 55 years of age or older. Now, of the 1,960 cases of COVID in the county, 40% are patients that are 55 years of age or older. The concern I have is of the 66 deaths, 64 of them, or 97%, were patients aged 55 or older. So just by the age of our staff, 40% of, would consider 40% of our staff potentially at risk because of just their age. So wanted to share that information with you. I got an email yesterday from our attorney, Chief Horseman. So the big fat pack of papers I gave to you, that's if you want to, having a little bit of insomnia and you want some reading, you can go ahead and read that. It'll put you right to sleep, but there's information about that she asked that we share with you, all kinds of information. Some of that stuff we'll talk about, some of that we won't. But I felt it was important to get that to you. Beginning of year update. As of right now, we are still distributing, we have just what's called the asynchronous devices. We've run out of Chromebooks and we've run out of hotspots, but we have where a family can take home a computer, it's a desktop. Then we would deliver a thumb drive to their home and all the work would be on there, along with a packet of papers so that they don't have to print out anything. And then in a week, we'll come back. So that's gonna be delivered on Tuesday. In a week, we'll come back and pick up the old thumb drive and deliver a new thumb drive. Oh, there we go. I heard my own voice. So we have some hotspots that we've ordered. We hope to have some 50 additional hotspots available in a week or two. We have 500 Chromebooks on order. Those don't look like we're going to have any of those anytime soon. There are going to be some that are freed up that we'll have available to distribute. But right now, that's where we're at. We did give out already 120 hotspots and over 1,000 Chromebooks that we had available to us.
How much did that cost us?
$500,000.
We had those already in stock, but it's $500,000 in equipment that's been distributed. But we didn't have to, that we paid out over several years. A lot of that, some of that through grants, some of that through M&Os, or not M&Os, through capital and other sources. Title grants, but that's,
Those are loaners, right?
They are loaners. We expect all of them back.
And then wasn't there like some type of stipulation too, that was it one per 2 students in the?
It was one device one Chromebook for every 2 students, or one device if they got the asynchronous. And then it was one hotspot for every family, because it could hold multiple
Right.
devices.
And it seems like people totally took advantage, you know.
They did.
were-
There's some frustration when we didn't have the devices, and I understand that.
Yeah,
And we appreciate them working with us. There's going to go a Facebook post that'll talk about if you didn't get one, what can you do?
right.
Things like that. But it was, I need to say that the IT department and the people that worked with the IT department to distribute the stuff did a fantastic job. It was out of their wheelhouse a little bit, but they stepped up, they took charge, and Larry's here, and I need to give a lot of credit to Larry and his staff. They did a fantastic job in getting that out, and they had some help from various other staff members that did a fantastic job in getting that information, or getting that stuff out. So.
How far short are we to meet the needs of everyone who wants it?
What would be your?
We're not, some of that's a little bit hard to determine. We have a waiting list right now of about 40 people who are waiting for the internet devices. Some people took Chromebooks and will figure out either how to get their own internet, use their phone as a hotspot, or things like that. And some families can't get a signal on the hotspot where they live. So we're thinking right now, based on when I left El Rio today, we're probably 40 devices short. We have 50 coming. Those are $320 each. So the district will spend about $56,000 from our CARES money just on internet connectivity for folk in the community. So it's kind of a big number to absorb when you think about that. One thing I think that we're wondering about is what will happen on Monday, and people who didn't come to device pickup, when they can't figure out how their kid's supposed to start school, we may have others that emerge who weren't on our waiting list. So right now we can fulfill what's on the waiting list. We're just unsure of what Monday will bring.
Well, I want to say I think you all did a great job organizing it, delivering the equipment to those who need it, and meeting the needs of the students.
We did a door-to-door, one of our bus drivers did a door-to-door of equipment today to a home in the nether regions of the district, because they couldn't get here to obtain it. So we did the first door-to-door on equipment today.
Really good.
Could you speak to the data usage limitations on those?
We'd be happy to.
Please, thank you.
So Larry can pipe up too if he wants to. We have the internet devices that we purchased have enough capacity for students to do their schoolwork. Parents and kids were strongly cautioned as they picked them up that there's no extra. So if they use it for YouTube or playing games or trying to watch Netflix on it, they're throttled, so that would be pretty hard. They're not going to be able to do that. And if they try to do it, they'll use all their data and won't be able to do their lessons. And the first day, we had 3 people who picked them up who used all their data the first day for that day. And Larry got a notification, and we know who has which device. And so we can reach back to them and contact them. Mike Schoenfeld has done a fantastic job organizing all this, so we have a little database of everything that went and where it went and all that business. So there are people who I strongly suspect on the first day of school may already have blown through all their usage and find themselves unable to do their schoolwork. So that will be a bit of a surprise. There is an adequate amount to do their work.
I also want to mention that these devices are filtered with what's called a SIPA compliant filter, which is for the Child Internet Protection Act. So, which is what we are required to do. So that's one reason why we purchased these particular ones, is they did have that filtering. So the kids or adults could not go onto inappropriate websites using that device.
So if there's people in the community that have like an old computer, would they be able to donate it? And like what requirements would it need?
What we're telling people is that if they have, there's been some confusion that they need our device to get on. If someone has internet access and can get on the internet, if they can watch Netflix from their home, on their computer or whatever, that's enough to do a kid's schoolwork. So what I would do, it's difficult for us to take old laptops and clean them up and recondition them and everything else. I would just see if there's somebody, a neighbor that has kids or somebody like that they can give it to. That's really would be, I think, a better plan than us trying to refurbish it and get it out back to the community.
We have about 130 desktop units that are ready to go. Some folk were reluctant to take them, I don't know where I'm gonna put this, or, whatever it may be. But we have those all packaged, clean packaged, ready to roll. Load them in your car for you. And so we still have about 140-ish of those, 130 of those. And that's where they will receive their lessons delivered right to their door once a week. And so even with those devices, it's possible to have almost the same experience that they would have online. And so I think for some people, I could see some of the kids weren't super thrilled if they had to take that home because they wanted a cool Chromebook, like their friend may have or whatever. But it actually will be deliver virtually the same learning experience for them. So we have lots of that ready to roll. So.
And if they have phone service, they can actually call into the live sessions. They just won't have the video, but they could use their telephone and call into the live sessions that the teacher holds.
So if somebody did mistakenly, or for whatever reason, burn through their data, do they have options to get more data?
Nope.
Parent can't just buy more data? or-
Not on that device.
It's our
They have to
device.
do
Gone,
their
it's
own.
gone.
It's gone, it's gone. It's metered out though, and Larry's done a pretty good job of metering out by the day. And so he gets that warning, and we have a feeling that the people who choked it day 1 and 2 will have maybe learned that pretty quick. Better
When it
now.
stops in the middle of their movie on Netflix or.
Better now. And we know that they'll be contacting tech support when it's not working, or whatever. And so everyone had a pretty good education on what not to do with the device. And so I think that will rectify itself in a few days, but the first few days may be a little bumpy.
So, school does start on Monday. And there is some frustration that we're dealing with, and we know that starting Monday, we're gonna have that frustration. So, when people are trying to get online and there's an issue, the first line of defense is for them to contact the teacher. Hopefully it's something that the teacher can address right away. If the teacher can't take care of it and it's a technology issue, an IT issue, that's our technology, we actually have both a website, email and a phone number that'll be distributed for IT help desk. That'll go to a voicemail or an email box, and then the IT department will assign that as a trouble ticket, and then they'll make that phone call out. And then if it's not technology related and the teacher can't address it, we ask that the parent or guardian reach out to the school admin. And then they can address it. And the thing is, the beginning of school is hectic normally. So, please, we ask that everyone be patient, because it's a normal situation. When everything's normal, things are hectic. This just makes it that much more. So, there is gonna be some people that get frustrated. That's normal. Please be patient, and we'll take care of you as soon as we can. We've talked about what happens August 17th, and so we have this is the student support lab where a parent or guardian can drop off their child. So a few things that we want to get out there is transportation will not be available. Our bus drivers are going to be delivering food, curriculum, taking care of special needs students, hopefully, and you'll vote on that later. So the transportation, we're not going to be able to transport kids on a daily basis to school to work on their at-home learning. Students must wear a mask. That's required by the governor. There will be breaks, but it's not going to be like a recess because we don't want kids necessarily to play on the playground equipment because we can't guarantee that we clean it well enough right now. There's a enrollment packet that includes a waiver. The hours will be 15 minutes before the school's normal time, 15 minutes past the school's end time. And we'll have Chromebooks or other devices available, so if the parent wants to drop a child off, they will have an access to a Chromebook at school. And it's not really a Chromebook, we have other devices that we'll have available, but they will have that available to them. And then we're trying to hire, we have a posting right now, so if anyone is out there interested in working as a daycare provider at Casa Mentor, we are looking for those positions to fill, and that is on our website at ChinoValleySchools.com if someone is interested for it's likely a temporary job that if you like working for the district could turn into a permanent job because we are always looking for aides. And then I talked a little bit about the food service program. We're still going to have the bus routes delivering food. We're still going to have the grab and go. And for those kids that come to school after the 17th, we'll also serve lunch at school. But again, free gets it free, reduced has to pay the reduced amount, and full pay has to pay the full pay amount. And lastly, just the past couple of weeks, our administrators, our teachers, our other staff have been working really, really hard to try to make the at-home learning the best experience possible. There's going to be hiccups. We ask everyone's patience, and we're committed to solving these issues. We all know that in-person instruction is the best for all students and teachers, and we are committed to in-person instruction when it is safe for our students and staff. So I wanted to share that.
I think that that's really important. I know that we talked a lot about it. Our last meeting is our hands are tied and people need to have patience. Everybody's doing the best that they can. None of us have dealt with what we're dealing with. I wish we were dealing with how crazy it was going to be driving your kid to school the first day, right?
That traffic
usually traffic is our biggest issue. But I know that our district phones have been ringing off the hook, people not being so nice, that I would just ask everybody to be patient. Everybody's doing the best they can in our district, and
Yeah.
we all want our kids back in school.
I appreciate that. Any questions for me? I know it was long, just a lot of stuff going on. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. Financial reports, item 6B1, Rebecca?
Okay, so we're working in 2 fiscal years right now for a couple months. So I'm giving you the information for fiscal year 1920 and fiscal year 2021. So 1920, our M&O, we're at 6.08% left. The capital is at 10.67%, and the adjacent wage is at 95.8%. For fiscal year 2021, the current fiscal year, we're at 7.25% in M&O, 15.72% in capital, and 60.82% in adjacent wage. So do you have any questions?
Thank you, Rebecca. Item 6B2, Student Activity Fund Report. I believe Mr. Scholl?
This is actually Rebecca's stuff.
Oh, okay, I had your name on here, okay.
So the only thing going on with student activity is boys soccer at the high school. They've ordered some uniforms, I think in hoping they can get together for soccer in the fall. That's the only thing going on with student activity.
Any questions? Thank you. Item 7A through F is the consent agenda. Unless anybody has any questions, I'd appreciate a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8A, CASA staff for supervision of children and district employees, Mr. Scholl.
In order to make life a little bit easier for our staff, I was hoping that when a teacher is in their classroom all alone teaching, that they could have their child in there doing their schoolwork. Our insurance company does not allow that. So what we can do is we have a licensed daycare, which is called CASA, the Chino After School Advantage. Typically, we use it for after-school care. What I'd like to do is kind of pivot a little bit and use it for the care of our staff members' children. When school starts, they'd have an opportunity to do their schoolwork in there, they do other activities. But I think ultimately it would help us out. It would help the employees out because they don't have to worry about their kids. And also it would help out us, the district, because those families could actually go on and stay home and they potentially could stay home to have to take care of their kids. So this is something that I think is good for, it's a win-win for both the district and the employee.
Questions?
So I do want to mention that in the past, cost has been self-funded. This would be free to the employee, so it's something that we pick up, and it would just be on a short-term basis until we're at home, at in-person instruction, at-home instruction would be ended.
You keep talking about that, and I'm wondering, do you have any sense of when that would be?
I've told the community and staff that we need to plan on at least 2 weeks. And with what we just read, I think it may be longer than that. I think that I'll work with Penny, but I think we need to probably have a special board meeting between now and the beginning of September, in case something happens, and then we can kind of evaluate on a every other week type basis.
Okay, thank
But
you.
the answer to your question is no idea.
Nobody has any idea.
No.
No state.
My comment is if you can tell me what COVID looks like in a month,
Yeah,
I'll tell you what school will look like in a month.
right, right,
And no one can do that.
right. Well, I think that, back to this, I think that this is a really great idea and that we should be able to provide this for our staff, so I think that.
Okay, this is an action item. Appreciate a motion, please, to approve use of CASA. You can read it.
I'll read it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the use of CASA staff to provide childcare for the school-aged children of staff until in-person instruction begins.
Okay. No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8B, salary adjustment for Special Services Director, Mr. Scholl.
So, actually, a while back, I did an analysis of administrator salaries. And things were in the area. So how do we compare against Humboldt and Prescott? And we were in pretty good alignment. Some were a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, some were in the middle, with one glaring difference. And that was our Special Services Director. And the increase in our special ed population, along with the responsibilities that go along with that position, and the risk that doing a poor job can put the district at. We have a fantastic Special Services Director, and I'm requesting that we adjust her salary, not to be above anyone else, but just to kind of be equal with what other districts would provide. And so I threw in the numbers, and so this is not what she is making, but the starting pay for our Special Services Director is just under $70,000. In Prescott, it's $77,900, and in Humboldt, it's $84,700. And I'm asking for a $7,000 increase to her salary. That would cost the district $8,400, but I think it's well worth it based on the responsibility that position holds.
I believe that's fair.
I definitely think that that's fair, and one of the things that, probably that I hear the most about is how great our program has become, and I think that that's because of Nicole, so I think that's really awesome. I always hear really awesome things about her, so I think that's really great.
Just curious, so the other two schools that you referred to, do they have about the same number of special needs of kiddos, or no?
They have more special need kiddos. They're bigger than we are. Prescott Unified is about 1.5 times our size, and Humboldt's probably just over 2 times our size. So there is more staff and that they supervise. But our percentage of special ed kids tends to be higher than a lot of other districts that are. But however, the job is that you may supervise more people, but the job is pretty much the same.
Okay, very good. This is an action item. We'd appreciate a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the salary adjustment of $7,000 for Special Services Director, Dr. Nicole Burdette.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8C, personnel report, Mr. Scholl.
There is a supplement, so make sure you check that out as well. We have, on the regular report, we have a couple new classified subs. We have some resignations. Those are all on that sheet, all paraprofessionals. Couple certified changes, some classified changes. There is a list of coaches, and we want to get them approved, but we're not going to issue work agreements until we know for sure that athletics is going to happen. But we want to get them improved so that if the time does come, right now there's a schedule to start some athletics on August 31st. So we want to get those coaches in place just in case that is not delayed. So all those coaches will get approved. We have canceled the fall sports for the middle school. And that is pretty much Quad City area. So no one's going to be doing any kind of middle school athletics in the area.
And no word from AIA about anything as far as high
They
school
issued
goes?
this week the earliest that athletics can start. Football, I think, was on the 7th or the 9th, and there's some that start on the 31st. And so it was kind of, the earliest was the 31st for us, and all the way to like the 7th or the 9th. That is depending on how things go in the state, and so that could get delayed.
Okay, so right now, our fall sports, as of right now in the high school, are planning on starting
The earliest would be August 31st.
the earliest would be August 31st?
Correct.
Okay.
And that guidance came out from the AIA this week.
And that's practice or that's games?
Practice.
Practice, the earliest practice can start is August 31st.
Right, and I think when it came to games, the first football game was gonna be end of September, beginning of October. There's a couple weeks of practice that are mandatory
Right.
before games can begin. Then on the supplement,
Okay.
there is a couple resignations. There is, and then the people below that, I had mentioned that there's some teachers that picked up positions or picked up other people's jobs. So they're doing basically a job and a quarter. So we really need to pay them, and those are those stipends. So instead of hiring a teacher, other teachers are actually picking up that responsibility. So that's what those are for. Now those amounts would be for if it went all year long. So that they would be prorated depending on how long we were with at-home instruction. And I did put,
That's where if we came back and that teacher didn't come back, we'd have to have.
a long-term sub or identify another teacher to fill that spot. Yeah, we would not expect them to have those kiddos in their classrooms to do that. We just don't know when that's gonna happen, so that's why I put to be determined on the end date.
Any other questions? This is an action item. We appreciate a motion to approve the personnel report with supplement.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report and supplement.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9A, capital budget.
Okay, so back when you adopted our budget, you adopted and approved a $985,000 capital budget. So now what we want to show you is how we plan on spending that budget. So we have two sections. We have our fixed expenses that we are required to pay every year. And that's mostly computer software, textbooks, mostly computer software. And then we have our discretionary, which we choose what we think the district is in most need of. We always give some to the schools. We were able to give the schools more this year than we have in the past. And the two big items under discretionary are a new bus and the capital portion of the Adjacent Ways project. So
And we've already received the bus, is that correct?
we've already received the bus.
How many new buses do we have within the last year, right? Because we got some through the fund.
Well, we got one last year, and then we got 3 with the VW settlement.
Right, oh, awesome, so now.
So,
we'll
and with the
have, like,
bus this
4.
year, I'd say about 5 in the last few years.
That's good.
Mhm.
So have we retired some of the old ones?
We have.
They retired a long time ago.
If there are no other questions, this is an action item. Appreciate a motion, please, to approve the 2021 proposed capital budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 proposed capital budget.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9B, the trust's COVID insurance pool and parent waiver form.
So the Arizona School Risk Retention Trust is our insurance company that provides liability and property insurance for the school district, along with automobile insurance. They've informed us that they will not cover any liability cases that come up because of COVID-19. It may be difficult to prove that somebody got COVID-19 at school and with a community spread, but it is not difficult to file a lawsuit. So we would have no coverage on that if that happened. So, but they have come up with another plan. So they've come up with an additional, a separate pool that we can buy into that would provide some coverage for any liability issues that come up based on COVID-19. And I put in there that we were told it was going to be between 5,000 and 150,000. My guess was 25,000 to 50,000. They approved this on last Tuesday, and we actually our amount would be 20,000, so it's less than I had estimated. So to join this pool would be $20,000. There are some limits. There's like $2 million limit per district, and there's a $25 million limit aggregate amongst everyone that joins the pool. The idea is we're basically self-insuring with all these other districts on any kind of liability claim. And again, it's hard to prove where you got COVID, but it's easy to file a lawsuit. So in order to cut the costs, they're also asking us to require waivers. And it's an informed consent so that when a parent sends their kid to school, they understand what the risks are when it comes with COVID. And so that waiver form I've included, there's a Spanish version, there's an English version, there's also a letter that is on my letterhead that I would send out to explain why we're doing this. And so what I'm asking for is for authorization to join this pool, which would cost $20,000, and then authorization to require parents at least to try to get them to sign the waiver form.
And what if a parent does not sign the waiver?
We would put on there, refuses to sign,
Okay.
or ask them to sign, but no, refuses to sign or something like that.
So, are other districts purchasing this insurance as
Yes.
well? Most, like everybody, like in our, tri-state area
Basically, almost every single district in the state
is purchasing this.
would be purchasing that. I believe some community colleges as well. I think like Yavapai College is in that pool as well.
Right. I don't think it's unreasonable, and I also don't think it's unreasonable for people to sign the waivers. If anybody attended the rodeo this year, if you bought a ticket, they made you sign a waiver too.
And really, it's just to kind of educate people.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the risks that you have by sending your child to school? That's really what it is trying to educate them on and making an informed decision.
Right.
So if a claim were to arise, is there a deductible associated with the claim?
If we have the waiver signed, there is no deductible.
Okay,
If we don't, it's $20,000 deductible.
even if they were just refused?
That's in question. I think that would be something that we can ask them to look at.
Okay,
Good question.
thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Action item, please. We appreciate a motion to authorize district staff, et cetera. If somebody wants to read that.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Like, say a kindergartner, they come in, who's gonna ask them these questions? Or is this?
It goes for the parents.
Okay,
So this is strictly for parents to sign and do
Okay.
that.
not questions that the kids are gonna be asked on a daily basis or anything.
You know, the kids are gonna have their temperature taken.
Right,
Hey, how do you feel? You know, that's about it as far as what it required
Okay.
for a kid to get on campus,
okay,
along with a mask.
right.
So no, this is really for parents, because they're the ones that ultimately would be responsible for sending their child to school.
Okay.
All right.
Call for a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize district staff to join the trust COVID-19 insurance pool and require the waiver form as part of student registration.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10A, recommendation for early admission in kindergarten. Brandy.
Okay, so it's that time of year again that we come and present our early entrances. We did have 4 early entrance kiddos come in. We did the screenings a little bit different this year. We didn't get to do the traditional jump start where we bring them in for the full 2 days. We set up appointments, the teachers still worked with the kids, and we still did their testing. Of those 4 that came in, you can see the birth dates that I provided. We are recommending, on the little bit that we got to see them, that they're probably okay to come. Since parents are basically doing the teaching anyhow right now. But we are recommending that they go ahead and attend kindergarten at this point. It's pending board approval.
Any questions? Need a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the recommendations for the children who have, parents have requested early admission to kindergarten.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10B, in-person instruction, Mr. Scholl.
I'm actually gonna ask Dr. Burdette to come up and maybe talk a little bit about having our in-person, or our self-contained classes for special ed come in and why it would be important.
Okay.
Or you can do from there, whatever, if you're allowed.
Well, it's hard to hear if
Here.
they're not over there.
Okay, so if you could come up.
No, you're fine.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So we are proposing to have our students that have more significant disabilities who really benefit from the in-person instruction to be able to come back onto campus starting August 17th, providing transportation for them. And these would be the students in our self-contained classes, the centers programs. It would be our EDP students who have the more severe emotional disabilities, as well as the extended resource, and those are kiddos that need to spend more time in a resource setting because they struggle a lot more with their academics, and learning in a virtual way is extremely difficult for them. So we are just proposing that those groups be able to come on campus, putting safety protocols in place. If they receive OT, PT, or speech, they would get that on campus, and that they would get their instruction. And what we're proposing is that for the, let's see, how do I explain this? The high school and the middle school extended resource, we would do a half day for them because typically that's about what they're in there for. But at Del Rio and at Territorial, the extended resource would be all day because they're really needing a lot of help at that level especially. And then all of the centers would be full day, and then EDP would be full day. And so I just wanted to propose that to you to see if that would be something that you would consider to help those kids in our district who really need that extra help.
How many are we talking about? How many students?
You know, I don't have the total of all of them. I can tell you we have 18 in the centers at the high school. We have 5 at the extended resource at the high school. We have 9 extended resource at Territorial. We have about 10 centers, or actually, I mean back up, about 15 centers at Territorial. Then at Heritage, we have 5 EDP. We have about 12 extended resource. Del Rio has about 10 extended resource, and then centers is about 10. So I could break it up by program, but I just don't have the whole number in my head.
About 100 kids, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and
Just
then
know where the kids are.
Nicole, about how many, because I know that you've reached out to those families, how many of those families would be keeping their kids at home for various medical reasons or other reasons?
Very few.
Okay.
We have maybe, I think it was 15.
About 15-ish on that list, yeah.
About 15 of them. And of the parents that we spoke with, they were tickled pink that we had proposed possibly having their children come back on campus because they know that they need that support. And so I've had, from those parents, nothing but praise for the idea. They're so excited that this may be a possibility. The ones that have more, like health issues, things like that, or maybe this COVID is just really just scary for them, they're willing to work with their kids at home, and we'll still have our teachers helping them the best that they can remotely. But majority of the families really wanted their kids on campus.
What would be the hours on campus?
Okay, so for Del Rio and for the full day, it would be the full school day. So if it's 8:30 to 3 at the high school, then it would be that for centers. For the kids who are just a half day, it would be 8:30 to 12:30.
And some of those kids might have special, in their IEP, different schedules depending on their needs and things like that. So it's really, it could be the school day, a normal school day, or it could be specific to an individual student because it's in their IEP.
But it's, for the full day, it's gonna go the whole standard day that they would go if they were back in school full-time anyway, and the half day is 4 hours. So, any questions, anything else?
I think it's an excellent idea.
Me too.
You know, I want to mention that these are the kids that would have the most difficulty learning at home.
Yeah.
You know, in some cases, it's just impossible. It's not even possible to do that. And then with the small class sizes to begin with, we're able to do significant social distancing, providing some additional PPE for the staff members, so that they're safe and the kids are safe. And so this is, you know, we're not allowing other kids on campus, but this is a special case. We still are required to fulfill their IEP. And it's difficult to do that online.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do the teachers feel about it?
They're all very excited. There are a couple of people who've decided to take leave during this time, parapros. They don't feel comfortable with the fact that they have their own children that they have to work with at home, and it's just hard for them. It's overwhelming. So, but we have it all covered. We'll, make sure everything was covered, and the rest of the teachers are very supportive of it. I've had a couple of special requests for one person in particular who does have some health concerns. We're gonna buy something to, it's actually one of our therapists, we're going to purchase something to put between her, a clear, like a little
Divider.
wall, but yeah, to separate her from the students. She's going to wear the shield and then a special mask. But the kids are going to be able to wear one of the shields so they can see their mouth because they have to for certain activities. And then the other request that we had talked about with some of them was to have scrubs as an option for them because some of the students, their fluids, they spit or they drool and things like that. And some of the teachers have said that they have really, nice clothing that they don't want that getting on them, with COVID especially being a possibility. So we are going to be ordering scrubs for those who, almost everybody really, who feel the importance of having that safety measure, and then they can change their clothes before they go home and wash up and get those sanitized in hot water and things like that. So we're gonna do the social distancing, we're gonna wear masks, we're going to be cleaning everything on a regular basis to really be safe as possible. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other
Thanks, Nicole.
questions? We need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve in-person instruction for students in centers, EDP, and extended resource programs at all district schools.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10C, a determination of excess capacity for open enrollment.
So this is something that we do annually. We basically have to say which grade levels are open, which are closed based on the size, and then also which special ed programs are open, which are closed based on the capacity. And so on the chart on the back of the cover sheet, it says, it gives you what the anticipated students are, how many teachers are in each grade level, what the average class size is, and the staffing model is something that was approved several years ago. So that's that's not the maximum, but that's what we'd like to target for in each class. How many students we could have, and then we put a 95% student capacity. That's how many that we want to limit it to, because if we get additional students from outside the district, we don't want to, or from inside the district that we have to take, we don't want to overload those classes because we've added too many open enrollment students. So based on, for grade level student capacities, based on the information, we are closed in all grade levels with the exception of kinder is open, 3rd grade is open, 5th grade is open, 6th grade is open, and the high school is open. So we would accept students in those grade levels, and in the other grade levels we would not. And then when it comes to special education, I changed it so that except for resource, because we have a larger number of resource students, that our open percentage for our self-contained classes is 80. And that's because the capacities can be so low that if we did 95, that it would be less than half a student room. So to give us a little bit of room, we do 80% on our self-contained classes. And really what that means is we have EDP classes at Territorial, Del Rio, and Heritage, and those are the only ones that have available space. Now a couple things, and this actually came up today, a couple things that I want to mention is if an open enrollment student was in the district last year, they're eligible no matter what this says this year. So we don't want to just kick a kid out if we had them last year just because they're open enrollment. So if they were in, they're in now. The other thing that's important is that if we have a student that is eligible for open enrollment, we're also going to take their siblings. We don't want to break up families. So it's important that we keep families together, so if one student is eligible, they're all eligible in that family. So we want to do that as well. So just ask that you approve the determination of excess capacity, and we can get this out to our staff who are already working with it, our enrollment staff. But there's with everything going on, there's been an interest from out-of-district students in Chino Valley. And the same thing is happening in Prescott. Mainly since Humboldt has made their decision to stay at home until October, there's been some additional interest in Chino Valley and Prescott.
Wow, I didn't know that Humboldt's already made that call.
They've already made that call
Till October.
till October
Fall break.
for the first quarter.
When is that, in October?
I think it's the 12th through the 12th, I think is what the date is.
Has the high school not had an EDP program? I thought they started.
We
No?
send kids out.
We have very low numbers in that area, so we have an IGA with the Humboldt School District,
Right.
and we have them go there for
Okay.
now.
And until Nicole came, we used to send most of our kids down to Mayor, where Nicole worked.
Right.
And one of her specialties is developing an EDP program.
Right.
And so when we brought her in, she was able to develop our in-house programs, K-8.
Any other questions? This is an action item. We appreciate a motion, please.
I can make the motion to approve the determination of excess capacity for the 2020-21 school year and determine the children of employees, current open enrollment students enrolled in 2019-2020, and the siblings of current open enrollment students enrolled in 2019 to 2020 are not subject to the open enrollment policy.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 11A, the second reading of a new policy for general harassment, Mr. Scholl.
So if you recall, there was a question about potentially changing the sexual harassment policy to be general harassment, and our attorney advised against that. So this is just the addition of a general harassment policy, ACB, and the regulation ACB-R. There were no changes from the last meeting, and so this is just the second reading for approval.
How do you feel about that?
I'm recommending it. There's other ways of harassing people other than sexual harassment, and this would, not that other policies, we couldn't use other policies to address that issue. This is just more specific, and I think it's a good thing.
Any other questions? Action item, motion please.
I'll make a motion to approve the new policy ACB general harassment and ACB-R.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 11B, regulations. Mr. Schultz.
So there's actually 3 regulations here. All 3 have the same verbiage in them. It's GB, GBR, JICAR-B, and KIRB, all relating to face coverings on district property. On the 23rd of July, Governor Ducey issued Executive Order 2020-51 called Arizona Open for Learning. And as part of the executive order, he required districts to develop and implement a policy to require face coverings, such as face masks or shields, for all staff and students over the age of 5. And then the Arizona Department of Health Services will determine when school districts no longer need to provide face masks or require face masks or face coverings. So the ASBA came out with these 3 regulations. A regulation does not need to be approved by the board. I felt it was important because of the content and what was going on. So the ASBA came out with these. GBR has to do with staff, personal security, and safety. So that's the policy or the regulation that deals with staff wearing face coverings. JICARB is student dress code or student dress. So that deals with students wearing face coverings. And they put it as part of a dress code. And then KIRB is visitors to school, so all visitors would be required to wear face coverings. These regulations meet the requirements of the executive order. Approval of the regulation does not require 2 readings. Only a policy requires 2 readings. A regulation can be approved in 1. I have almost done a protocol. There's language in there that the superintendent has some leeway, and so what I've done is developed some protocols. For example, if a teacher is in their classroom all alone, they shouldn't be wearing a mask unless they want to. And then things like that. If a teacher is in a classroom teaching kids, or let's take the speech therapist. The speech therapist is teaching a kid how to speak properly. They may just need to wear a mask, not a mask, a shield, because that student needs to see their lips. So there's some educational purposes and medical purposes when a shield would be more appropriate. And so that's the kind of things that'll be up in this protocol, but these regulations have language that allow me to develop those protocols and put that out to the staff and community.
Now, yes, is this going to be for all campus-wide or in school? I'm thinking after-school sports,
This would start on
activities?
Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, start on Monday.
But will it be for like after-school activities?
There's,
sports?
one of the parts of the protocol talks about athletics,
Okay,
that if they are working out in a gym or after-school activities, as long as they are social distancing and following proper hygiene, cleaning up, if they're working in a weight room, they'd have to clean up the rack when they're done, that kind of thing, that would be allowed. So that's the kind of things in those protocols that would be important, because there are situations when masks aren't appropriate, but we need to do other things and follow the social distancing and hygiene to ensure that we still keep on top of the infection.
What about, 5 and up, right? That's what they're saying.
Correct.
So this brings a whole new battle for our teachers.
Absolutely.
I have a 5-year-old,
Absolutely.
and this, are you staying on that? Like, how do they have to keep it up the whole time? Like, what's the?
So what it says is when they're basically in class,
Yeah.
they're going to have it on. There'll be times, for example, one of the things that and I'm still working on the protocols here, when we do the student study lab, which is where we have the kids dropped off to work on their at-home learning at school, they're going to have to wear a mask. But on a frequent basis, they're going to have to go out on a break where they can be outside, socially distanced, take off their mask.
So I have another question. So when we just saw the numbers of some of our grades, so like for instance, like the seventh grade, their number's 33 for students. So we're talking about 33 students in a classroom with heat, with 33 kids, and then their face masks on as well.
This is a requirement from the governor's executive order.
Right.
Unfortunately, that doesn't give us a whole lot of options.
Right. Again, something everyone needs to remember that this is not our.
Right. And to be honest, I see, and parents have that absolute right, that they don't want their child wearing a face mask. We will still have the option of at-home instruction for those families. There's going to be families that when we're in person, they don't want to send their kid because they're afraid of maybe they're immunocompromised or other things going on. They'll have the option of keeping their child at home. And we foresee that option being available for it would end in two cases. One is the end of the school year, or the second time is when we just run out of kids that want it. That option would run out. But we are planning to have it available for the whole school year if it's desired.
So when you say cloth face coverings,
That's the governor's words.
what is that encompass?
That would be something, and we have people wearing different types of masks. So it would be something like similar to what I'm wearing. And what they talk about is, and are we going to police that? I doubt it. I don't know. But there's the surgical mask like a couple of us in the room are wearing. There's the cloth face mask that I'm wearing. Really the key is, does it cover the mouth and the nose? One exemption is, and we've already had an employee provide this, if there's a medical reason they cannot wear the mask, whether they have lung problems, asthma, other reasons, if they provide a doctor's note, we'll ask them to wear a shield. And in some cases, maybe the shield isn't even appropriate. If the doctor says they can't wear a shield either, there's not a whole lot we can do, and they would be able to not wear anything as long as they have a doctor's documentation.
Any other questions?
This probably isn't my favorite thing, but I don't think we have a choice,
No, we don't.
so.
We absolutely don't.
Yeah.
So this is an action item. We need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the updated regulations GB-R and new regulations JICA-RB and KI-RB.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 11C, policy updates, first reading, Mr. Scholl.
I don't know if everyone answered that.
Oh, I'm sorry. All
I
in
did, I
favor?
just didn't say, did I not say it loud enough? I'm sorry,
I think we need to allow for maybe an opposed.
Pardon me?
I think we need to allow for an
Oh,
opposed.
thank you. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Why did you told me I would have opposed with you? Just kidding.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Item 11C, policy updates, first reading.
So this is the second half of those regulations, so it all kind of came together. There's really only two in here that are of issue. One is policy IHA, which says that we need to celebrate the Sandra Day O'Connor Civics Celebration Day on, I believe it's September 25th, I believe. And we need to have all of our schools, K-12, it is September 25th, focus on civics that day. There is I believe, some instructional materials that will be provided by the Board of Education, but on September 25th, our focus is supposed to be on physics, on the Sandra Day O'Connor, civics celebration day. The second policy is parental involvement in education, which requires the district to post on its website a handbook of parental rights that is developed by the Arizona Department of Education. Both these are results of laws that were passed in the state legislature last spring. Again, issued by the Department of Education, by the ASBA to fulfill those requirements.
Okay, this is the first reading. Does anybody have any questions?
Why is this coming up now?
They just got to it. It was, you know, in some cases, the laws didn't take effect until July 1, because that was the date, and so they just got the policy out for us to look at, the policy advisory.
Okay.
Okay, you're all set?
No
Ready
action.
to adjourn? Okay, then we're going to adjourn. Thank you so much.